What is the role of a man in the church community? Today, I'm going to unpack the first in a 4-part series, helping you understand God's role for men in their church community. Today, I want to share something that's unpopular in modern churches, but I think you guys, our men in the arena, will get it because you're already a part of our DNA. Here it is. It's undeniable in Scripture and in society, and it's more relevant than ever that when God starts a history-making, kingdom-expanding movement, he almost always starts with a man. Let that sink in as you ponder what I'm about to say in the next 10 minutes. This is part 1 in a 4-part equipping series called When a Man Gets It. So make sure you stay tuned. You will not regret it. So guys, I don't know if you know this about me, but in 2013, I had a back surgery that goes back to a fitness incident, we'll call it, in 2012 that led to back surgery. And it's really interesting. I had a disc between my L5 and S1 vertebrae, which is like a silver dollar sized gelatin disc. It moved not even a quarter of an inch, and that was so debilitating that I ended up having back surgery. And when I think of men, I think of this, that man, a man, even though he's such a small part of a family unit, he is integral to the stability of the whole. My friend Jeff Voth says this: as men go, so goes culture. God has established you as the man, as the backbone of your church, your family, and society. And that is why I believe that reaching men is key to the health of any church community or culture. But I also believe that males are the cause of much of the world's pain and suffering. Notice I differentiate between a male and a man. A man is, the man does. Man is function over form. You are born a male, you become a man. You choose the path of man. So men are a powerful part of God's vision for humanity. God almost always starts with men. Let me share one story. I was in Indiana speaking a couple years ago. I met a guy named Jeff. He was dressed up in a bike, like in his leather chaps and a jacket, the full biker garb, and he sat right in the front row. And the next year, Jeff showed up again, and I remembered him from the year before. And after that second time I saw him at this conference, he said this. He wrote me an email. He said, after attending this conference a year ago, I was inspired to be the man I was called to be. He said, I'd made a deal with a longtime friend that I would attend church with him one Sunday. Needless to say, I've been going ever since. But my wife, not so much. It was a hard road. I seriously considered divorce. But as I prayed, God revealed to me that divorce was not an option, of course, because it's not in the Bible. Instead, he said, I should become a man that I was called to be. A year later, my wife committed her life to Jesus, and a short time later, so did my mom, and I'm getting ready to baptize them both at my church tomorrow. Guys, I'm telling you, when a man gets it, everyone wins. Before we jump off the deep end here, I want to answer a question, because I know there are women who are listening to this podcast. I know that we have men who are questioning some of the things, and some in this society today, I get this question. What about women? Are you some kind of misogynist? And I always laugh. It's usually the misandrists that ask that question. But are you a misogynist? Are you a woman hater? Are you a chauvinist pig? Are you one of those ultra oppressive, conservative, narrow-minded, bully pastor, alpha male types? What about women? And I just laugh. I go, hey, have you met my wife? I mean, she is strong, she is powerful, and in my 35-year career in full-time ministry, I've ministered side by side with some of the most courageous women called by God, and you know what? They are tough, they are educated, they go harder, they work longer. So here's my response to women. Women, you are not the problem. It is males who are causing the problems. So women, you have fought to cover males who have been indifferent and apathetic and anonymous for far too long. It is time for men to step up and get in the game. So here's what I tell women. Pray, ask God to show you what he wants you to do, and do it. Obey God. It's pretty simple. Here's a quote from a strong woman, Elizabeth Elliot, wife of the late missionary Jim Elliot, said this: first off, be a man. I said it in 100 ways, but I'll say it again. You expect her to be a real woman, but you can't expect that if you're not a real man. Women are calling men to step up. And here's the other thing. There are too many verses in the New Testament. As I approach the scripture without trying to approach it without bias, without some kind of subjective opinion, when I approach scripture, and you may not want to hear this, but when I approach scripture, there are too many verses in the New Testament where God elevates women to high positions of leadership. In Judges 4:4, we read about Deborah, a prophet and judge of Israel. What about the entire book of Esther? In Acts chapter 16:14, we read about a prominent businesswoman named Lydia, whose entire household was saved after her salvation, and she became a host church in her city. Also in Acts, we read about the power couple Priscilla and Aquila. They are mentioned 6 times in Scripture, and 4 of those 6 times, she's mentioned ahead of her husband. This is incredibly significant in the Greco-Roman world. She probably was the lead speaker. I believe she wrote the book of Hebrews. I'll stop there. In Romans 16:7, we read of a woman named Junia. This is not a typo. It is not Junius, as some scholars have said, but Paul writes this about her. She is, quote, outstanding among the apostles. And then finally in Romans chapter 16, verse 1, Paul mentions Phoebe, who is a deacon in the church of Cenchrea. So here's my deal. Women throughout Scripture have been elevated to high positions. So again, I just say, women, obey God, follow his call on your life, be the best version that you can be in Jesus. I in no way want to hinder you or hamstring you. I'm a strong man, and I'm calling for strong women. Strong men want strong women. Weak men want weak women. And I believe the Bible is calling us to be strong in every aspect of our life, mental, physical, spiritual, and social. So women, do what God asks you to do. So guys, I want to stop there for today. Until next time, feel the wet sand on the arena floor. Hear the deafening roar of the crowd. Taste the sweetness of victory. Smell the stench of battle. Get in the game. Get dirty. Grind it out. Empower the women in your lives to be strong and be a man.